Welcome to Mental Health Momentum, a Silicon Slopes podcast. I'm Dr. David Morgan. I'm a licensed psychologist and the Director of Mental Health Awareness here at Silicon Slopes. And on this podcast, we talk about mental health issues in business and beyond and look for solutions. I want to introduce my guest to you today. This is Michael Anderson. Hello, Michael.
Hello. Thanks for having me.
Thank you so much for being here. Let me tell you a little bit about Michael. It's always a treat for me when I get a fellow mental health professional on the podcast.
Yeah.
Every once in a while. It doesn't happen super often.
We get each other. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. We'll talk about all these code things no one understands. So, Michael is a trained therapist, marriage and family therapy, right?
Correct.
Masters, yeah.
Yeah.
And turned performance coach and the founder of Unbound, a transformational program helping men break free from pornography, rewire their mindset, and lead their families with strength and confidence. Drawing on years of clinical expertise and coaching experience, Michael equips men with the tools to face shame, master self-doubt, and forge a powerful new identity. Through the Unbound Brotherhood community and challenges, he is helping men step into the role of courageous husbands, fathers, and leaders. I love that. That's such an important thing nowadays, and not super uncommon now for mental health people to go to coaching.
Yeah. It's going to happen more and more.
I think it is. I think it's a great thing too, because the coaching space is sometimes very crowded with people with very little experience. And training.
Yeah. It's kind of the Wild West.
It's super the Wild West.
Which is it's scary in some ways, but in other ways, like for someone who's a trained therapist, lots of really valuable skills.
Exactly.
Expands their reach. They can help a lot more people in a lot of ways.
I totally agree.
Yeah.
I foresee the day when coaching will become a lot more regulated. That you'll see like requirements there'll be licensure requirements and training requirements, experience requirements, things like that, which I think will be a good thing in the long run.
Yeah. If it goes that direction, I think it would be a good thing. Yeah, absolutely.
Agreed. Well, so tell me about, how did you get into marriage and family therapy in the first place? Every mental health professional has a story about how they eventually got into that, right?
But I'm telling you, my story is not very good. It's very disappointing. It's like, I remember the first day of grad school, like, teachers asking like, why did you get into this? And everyone's always saying things along the lines of, I always wanted to help others. I just had this calling,
When I was 3, I had a traumatic experience, whatever it is.
Yeah,
right?
exactly. And honestly, for me, I was in a career I wasn't super enjoying. And my wife was getting her family studies major at BYU. And so she was like telling me things about like marriage, parenting, family. And I was like, that sounds more interesting than what I'm doing. Maybe I should just go back to school and become a marriage therapist.
Okay.
I got into the program, and the first week I realized I didn't have any idea what a therapist did. Like I never really had a whole lot of therapy experience or anything. And so I remember in between classes pulling one of the cohort members aside and just being like, hey, like in all seriousness, just being like, hey, real quick. It's like, what does a therapist do? And she was like, she looked at me like, are you kidding me? Like so mad that I got in the program,
Right.
She's like, I've slaved away for years to get into this program, So that's how it kind of started. But it's one of those things where I'm just so glad it happened.
Totally. It must have been meant to be. Yeah, because people do work very hard and kind of plan their whole undergraduates around that.
Right. Yeah. I can like feel the heat of so many people, of like anger that I got in. But again, really, really glad it happened.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
What was your career before? Just curious.
So I did a couple different things. I had done some software stuff, some tech things that didn't really pan out. I taught a religious curriculum, and I was a seminary teacher for SNI for a little bit. Just could never find something that just really felt like this is where I'm supposed to be. And then this happened.
And how long ago was the master's?
It was during COVID.
Okay.
Yeah, it's 2020.
So you found your calling.
Yeah,
It feels like it.
hopefully. Yeah. I don't know. Who knows? Maybe I'll pick something else next month. I don't know.
So let's talk about your interest, obviously. Did you have an interest in like men's mental health from the beginning, or did that kind of shift over time? Because that's your main focus right now.
It's my main focus right now. I went into there thinking I'd be a marriage counselor, just doing marriage therapy, and I still enjoy doing marriage therapy, and that's in my therapy practice. That's primarily what I do. I still do some marriage therapy, but I just started working with men. Men would. When you're a marriage therapist, when you do marriage therapy, you still will spend some individual time with both partners, right? And you talk with men, and these men were opening up to me about pornography, and I had men coming in and saying, hey, do you just do one-on-one pornography work? And it was something where I didn't have a whole lot of experience treating it, but I just kind of fell in love with the process of helping men do that type of healing.
Right.
And realized that, there's not luckily we live in a world where I think there's so much more resources out there for men and mental health, but there's still not nearly enough. There's so many men that are still just quietly suffering.
Right.
And so to be able to step into that arena just felt really impactful for me.
Do you think that the quiet suffering, which I agree is happening, do you think it's because of a lack of mental health resources or a lack of willingness to reach out for those, or a combination of both?
So those two things, and I think also it's still, while this is a general statement, I still think it applies pretty well, is that a lot of times men are socialized to not seek for that type of help and support. And so not only maybe they want to, but they just feel like, well, this really would mean I'm a failure then if I had to go admit defeat, quote unquote, right? And so I think there's a number of factors that keep men from reaching out.
Right. We've both found it in our professional work that the opposite happens. When a person is willing to admit to their flaws and their weakness and things like that, it kind of generates this newfound strength that they didn't have before.
Yeah, it's I mean,
so paradoxical.
It's paradoxical, but we're wired for connection, right?
Yes.
And so when we actually go and open up to somebody and find safety, it unlocks a whole new reservoir of strength inside of us. So it's so key.
Yeah, I know. I've worked with a number of people in similar situations struggling with addiction, and one of the first things I recommend is some sort of group interaction, group treatment.
Yeah.
And they're always like, no.
Yeah.
Do you do one-on-ones? You know, they always ask the exact same thing, right?
Yeah.
And then you go, well, you can handle it one-on-one, but I'm telling you, group is going to be one of the best things for you.
Mm-hmm.
And without fail, they come out saying the same thing. They're like,
mm-hmm.
this was the greatest experience, because you're right. They do get that connection and that vulnerability, which in a one-on-one setting, that's good, but it's just multiplied by, 8 or 10, when you're in a group setting.
Totally. I think there's something about a group. It just shatters those fears.
Yes.
Way more than, one-on-one, it can be a one-off. Like, you're just a nice guy. You're paid to listen to me and not judge me. But when there's like other men in your shoes that just give you full acceptance, I think it really shatters those beliefs in a new way.
And people that are going through the same things too. And that's the difference from the one-on-one, is that your counselor, you're not like identifying with your counselor as like a peer, like someone who's going through the same thing, even though many times we often are having our own struggles, internally, but the dynamic is different. But in that group setting, it's literally peer to peer. And
totally. Yeah. It's really powerful. It's really cool.
So tell me about Unbound Brotherhood. Like, how did you get the idea? And how does it support people? Let's hear more about it.
Yeah, so I started doing one-on-one coaching, and which was awesome. But this actually leads into what you were just saying about the community aspect. I realized that there's still limits to what I can do one-on-one, and so I kind of fought it for a long time. I was like, I can't run a group, I can't run a community. Like, that's not, I don't even know how to do that. But as more and more, so I was like, okay, what I'll do is I'll create an online course. That's what I'll do. All the principles that I teach guys one-on-one. And I'll put it, they can go through it self-paced, right? They can learn these same principles, and then that's what I'll do. And then as I started building it, I was realizing more and more, I was like, dang it, they need community. Like, they need connection. They need to be able to go through this course with other men walking the same path, and to just realize, like, I'm not broken. I'm not weak. I'm not gross. My brain was just wired against my will towards something, and now I can rewire it, and I can walk this with other men. And so I was like, okay, I'm going to launch kind of a beta test community where some men will come into a community, they'll go through the course together and just see what that's like. And they had an awesome experience with it. And the feedback was that, yeah, we want this community feel. And so I was like, all right, we're doing this. And so from there on, it's like Unbound. We're going full-fledged community, a coaching program. And so men can come, go through the course together, and we do group calls as well, and just give them an opportunity to, like what you said, right? Just like connect with other men walking the same journey.
Do they go in like in a cohort, like you start a group and then that group will go through the whole program all together? Or do people come in at different points? Like someone might come in and someone might be at lesson 11 and this person's lesson 1. How do you work?
Yeah. As of right now, they can just come in whenever.
Okay.
Just so that I don't want people to feel like, well, there's already enough reasons to like not take action on something.
Just missed the opportunity to start a week ago.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
Yeah.
Like just come back in a month. There's so many guys are gonna be like, oh, okay, well, darn it, I tried.
Right.
So it's like, just come in whenever you want, and we do daily discussions that kind of match wherever you're at in the journey, just to kind of connect with people, and again do weekly training. So it's just wherever they're at, everyone's kind of on different spaces.
I love that, and I think that does the benefit of that, or one of the benefits of that, is that you have people that are more experienced as well
Exactly.
in the program who can kind of mentor those who are just coming in.
Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of value in that, for sure. Unbound. I'm curious about the name. It has to have a better story than your story about the master's program.
It's really not that much better. You got the wrong guest to come, and if you want a cool story, it's not. I was literally just trying to think of words that just kind of captured the feeling of what it means to really like be the husband and father that you want to be. And I think there were a lot of names that I kind of looked through and sifted through and kind of thought through, and the word unbound just kind of kept sticking out to me of like, that's what every man deserves to be able to do. Every man deserves to be able to build a legacy he's proud of, unbound. Like just being able to feel like he's just him, Yeah. And I tell clients all the time, I'm like, healing is not about becoming someone new. It's about just getting back in touch with who you really are.
Right.
And I'm sure you can
so
relate.
true,
It's just like people will come to you, right, and be like, I've read all these self-help books. I've read, listen to all these podcasts because they're trying to become someone new. They think that's the answer. But when you kind of unload the shame of that paradigm and realizing like actually who you are right now, right here is enough. It's just about getting back in touch with that. That's freedom,
Yeah.
And so that's kind of why I've stuck with that name.
That's a good story.
That turned out half decent.
Yeah, that's a good
story.
Good.
All right, sweet.
No, and I love that as well. And something you mentioned earlier, which I think a lot of people don't understand about mental health. You talked about kind of the way our brains are wired and how they do come pre-wired, for sure, for whatever reason, a combination of genetics or environment, things like that.
Yeah.
And so many people view that as a static thing. They're like, okay, this is just the way I am.
Right.
My parents were this way, my grandparents were this way, or they found a gene that's responsible for this or something.
Yeah.
But what people don't understand is that all can be changed. Your brain is so highly adaptable to so many things.
Neuroplasticity, right?
Totally. Yeah. You can change just about not everything, but a lot of things, at least a lot of things we think that can't change actually can be changed.
Right.
It's just a difficult process. It takes time and consistency. The brain's not just rolling over and saying, "Oh, you want to change now? Great, let's we'll change today."
Yeah.
It says, "Whatever, you've been doing this for 40 years. We're gonna keep doing this until you really show us that you mean business."
Right. Yeah. Exactly. But the brain really wants to heal, right? Is the reason why it's neuroplastic is because it wants to heal, learn, and adapt. And so, the biggest thing I think is that consistency piece, right? They'll have one powerful experience and think they're done,
right,
but they don't stay consistent with these really small powerful acts. But yeah, we come into this world with certain wiring. We have experiences that we didn't ask for that also wire our brain. But if we just stop there, that's a pretty helpless place to be in, and that's not where we want to stay. We want to transition to this really empowering place of, okay, I don't have to blame myself or shame myself for the things that I can't control, right? Like a young kid, average age of exposure to pornography is 10 to 12 years old.
Right.
It's like,
which is insane compared to 30 years ago.
Which is insane compared to 30 years. And I've heard it's even trending lower now.
I bet.
It's like it's trending lower and lower. It's like we can't blame these kids for either being curious or being targeted or anything.
Right.
And so these men, I'm like, guys, like let's look back with compassion on those younger parts of you that got targeted. And now let's step in healthy accountability and let's change it.
Right.
Let's do something about it.
Exactly. And understanding that they have the power to do something about it is so critical as well, right?
Yeah.
Even though, back to Unbound, right? It's like breaking free of any of those perceptions that say, well, I can't do this. I'm stuck in this circumstance. None of that's true.
Yeah.
Of course you can do something about it.
Yeah.
And even formative experiences that we've had can be rewritten in our brains. That's kind of what we do our whole lives.
Totally. Yeah. 100%.
Yeah. Well, in a purely selfish mode, because I've got a marriage and family therapist here.
Yeah. Oh boy. Oh no.
Even though I didn't even know what he was getting into when he went into the master's program. We're at the holiday season of the year. We're kind of in between Thanksgiving and Christmas right now. So I want to talk a little bit about relationships.
Yeah.
Navigating relationships. I know before the podcast you mentioned that you had a big Thanksgiving planned and stuff like that, which is amazing. So one of the things that happens when people get together is that we'd love just to all kind of agree and everyone's going to have the same opinion on things. But that rarely happens, especially anymore. I mean, we're becoming more and more divided as a society. Do you have any thoughts or ideas on how people can still like disagree, but kind of maintain harmony? I don't know.
it's funny you say that. Before I was a therapist, I'd always be like, have a wonderful Christmas, like so exciting, like have a happy Thanksgiving. And now it's a therapist, I'm like, first let me just check in. How are you feeling about Thanksgiving and Christmas, right? Because you don't realize just how complicated the holidays are for so many people. And as far as your question about like conflict and disagreeing, first of all, a couple thoughts come to mind. First of all, just on a practical perspective, right? If there's probably no like one thing I could say on this podcast that would just heal all your issues, and you're going to be able to go to the holidays and not be affected. But a couple thoughts. So from the most practical level, knowing your own boundaries and knowing when you need space, knowing when to engage, knowing when you need to peel off can just be really helpful with the holidays, right? And just knowing, okay, this person I have a complicated relationship with, and so I'm going to set this boundary around it. And it's not, it doesn't make me a bad person that I'm going to limit how much I interact with that person during this, And for some people, I tell clients, like, sometimes it really is just like, let's just survive the most practical way possible, right? And that's okay if that's what you got to do. Just set those boundaries. If you want to come like a deeper thought, when conflict happens, especially with people, I tell clients the thing that makes marriage, parenting, relationships in general, like family relationships in general, so difficult is that in our closest relationships, it shines a light on our deepest insecurities, the things we haven't dealt with, right?
Because we're more vulnerable with those people.
We're more vulnerable.
The guard is down, right?
Exactly. The guard is down. We're more vulnerable. The stakes are higher, right? Because anytime there's more vulnerability, that means the stakes are higher, right?
And you want to maintain relationships with these people. It's not like you can just write them off, right?
Yeah.
Like a spouse or a family member or something.
Yeah, exactly, right? And so you've got that sibling that behaves in such a way that on the surface you think, I'm so bugged by that person. But if you actually were to get curious, probably underneath that, their behavior is activating some sort of insecurity in you of, I'm not good enough, I'm not accepted, I'm always being judged, like some sort of like wound that hasn't fully been healed or taken care of. And so when people can become more aware of that, they can realize that, okay, 90% of my relationship is not about getting the other person to change. It's about learning how to go to the parts of me that are hurting and meet them with love and compassion. Uncle so-and-so can do whatever he does, right? And I don't have to engage because I've realized, like, oh, the only reason why I feel the need to engage in the first place is because he activated an insecurity in me. So if I can just go to that part of me and just remind myself, I am good, I'm fine, I'm safe, right? Whatever it might be. Mm-hmm. And this is a horribly watered down answer to your question, right? But I'm just trying to give but like if we can engage in that really self-compassionate process, it becomes easier to kind of distance ourselves from that behavior, that those conflictual cycles. If that makes sense what I'm saying.
It makes absolute sense. And I think one of the things I like the most about it is that it's within our control.
Right.
Part of the challenge with relationships is, like you said, we're trying to do something to control the other person.
Right.
So we're trying to engage in these different strategies and thrusts and parries in order to create some sort of change or adjustment in another person, and it's almost universally ineffective. It either doesn't work the way we thought it was going to work, or backfires, or it doesn't work at all. And what you're saying is you need to go inside. You need to take a look at your own self and say, okay, what's, like you said, if Uncle so-and-so really gets me going with this political talk, then what is it about me that is reacting to that?
Totally.
And if you can do something about that, if you can change the way that you think about that or whatever, then and set a boundary around it, then it makes a huge difference.
A huge difference. And going back to what I said at the beginning, right? It's like I remember talking with a client during the holidays one year, and they're like, we were doing some deep trauma healing, inner wounds of stuff that with her family, right? I can't remember if it was a father or sibling or whatever. And I remember she said to me, she's like, okay, we're still in the middle of that healing. So like, what do I do about the fact that Thanksgiving's next week, right? And that's what I told them. Like, listen, if all you can do right now is just survive. That's what I meant by like that first answer, right? It's like just if you first thing is if you just need to set boundaries, right? If you're in the middle of that work or you need more time to that work, like it's okay to distance yourself and say, I'm not ready to engage with that person as much. Like that's okay too.
Right. We talk about communication as well and what to say, what not to say. But again, if we go back to that same idea of looking inside at yourself and doing that kind of personal self-assessment and saying, is there anything about me in this situation, man, I just think that goes so far.
Yeah.
Because then you'll think, okay, I'm okay saying this, or I'm not okay saying this. I don't know. Just that the whole thing comes to mind.
Well, can I say one last thing on that with what
Please,
you just
yeah.
said is one thing that I tell clients all the time. It's like, it is amazing what you're willing to do and experience when you realize your self-worth is not on the line. It's amazing when, again, Uncle so-and-so, Aunt so-and-so, cousin, whoever, right, does that thing. It's amazing. Like when you realize you're like, oh, their behavior, their opinion, their perspective actually does not threaten me at all.
Yeah.
I'm good. I'm okay. It's amazing your ability, your capacity to just kind of watch them do what they do and just kind of be like, okay. Like, do you know what I'm saying?
I know exactly what you're saying.
It doesn't actually affect me anymore.
I used to, when I first started as a psychologist, or even in my training, I was quite worried about my client outcomes. I was like, oh my gosh, am I saying the right things? Am I doing the right things? And then judging my performance as a psychologist based on their, progress or lack of progress.
Can't relate with that at all. Yeah.
Right. And then I realized what a horrible thing to be doing to myself, because I was taking my own valuation as a psychologist and putting it completely in a place where I had zero control. And I thought, that is the dumbest thing I ever heard of.
Yeah.
And so I just decided after a while, I thought, you know what, if I give good counsel, if I, behave appropriately, if I'm well trained and doing what I should be doing as a psychologist, then I was a good psychologist today, whether they get better or not.
Yeah.
You know, and just creating that distance and separating those two things was such a big deal for me. And like you said, having that independent sense of self-worth that is not tied to the opinions of others.
Right.
And that's huge. That goes, boy, you could package that and sell it to the whole world,
Totally. Yeah. Yeah.
Because it's such a big deal right now.
Well, it's like everyone, all the family members that are doing those things, right? That like, get you going. They're only doing those things because of their own internal stuff, right? And so you just get to kind of take a step back and be like, oh, like that's their storm. I don't have to get pulled into their storm. It's just not, I don't have to do that anymore.
That's right.
Yeah.
Not my circus, not my monkeys, that sort of thing.
Yeah. Kind of. Yeah. Yeah.
I want to ask one more question about forgiveness. Okay. So,
sure.
So a lot, and just your ideas on this. A lot of people, they struggle because they, at the holiday and Christmas time, Thanksgiving time, they come into contact with people who have done them wrong in some way,
sure.
Large or small. As far as a person extending forgiveness, do you have thoughts on that? Like, is it, I don't know, is it beneficial? Is it healing? I mean, I have my own thoughts on it, but I'm curious about yours.
Yeah, this is something I think about a lot. And I don't think I'm there yet, like understanding really like what forgiveness is, because it's so hard, because I think we pack a lot of shame on this idea of forgiveness, right? You should forgive or else you're bad, right? And I think there's so much pressure on people to forgive. So I'm happy to share my thoughts, right?
Sure.
Keeping in mind that if you ask me a month later, I might have a completely different answer. But and my thoughts on forgiveness is, forgiveness is not just like this, like one, like this, like finish line that you cross and then you're done. I've forgiven. So now all the pain is gone. All the hurt's gone. Right. And what I tell clients all the time is I think we waste so much time judging ourselves for what we should or shouldn't be feeling, rather than just being present with what we are feeling. And I don't necessarily think forgiveness is always tied to feeling great all of a sudden. I think there can still be pain, there can still be heartache. And so anyone listening to this, I don't want them to feel like, okay, the only way I can finally heal is if I just now all of a sudden feel great things towards that person that hurt me, right? But I wonder if forgiveness is much more of coming to this realization gradually at your own pace, without anyone telling you that you should be there already, but coming to this realization more and more at deeper and deeper levels that, yes, they hurt me. That wasn't right. And I get to set boundaries. And at the same time, not but, and two things can be true at the same time.
Right.
And their pain does not have to affect my self-worth. I don't, Frank Anderson, he's a leading trauma researcher in the world. He said something once that just really blew my mind. I was listening to him and he said, the definition of trauma is the taking on of things that were never yours to begin with. Therefore, the definition of healing trauma is the letting go of things that were never yours to begin with. And I think forgiveness is this realization of the person who hurt me was a hurt person. and I didn't deserve it. My self-worth is not affected by it. I'm a whole person. And so I can set a boundary if I need to, and I can make peace with the fact that they're hurting and I don't have to own it anymore. And we can sometimes have compassion on them, although compassion is not the same thing as allowance.
Right.
But we can look at them and be like, oh, yeah, I work with a client whose dad yelled at him for years and years and years, right? And him just realizing like, oh, my dad yelled at me because he was a deeply insecure man.
Right.
So it's like, it's not that I'm inadequate. It's not that I am a piece of garbage. It's not that I'm something wrong with me. It's just that my dad had deep insecurities. So now I get to distance that. I can set a boundary. I don't have to engage with him if I don't want to. And I get to have this piece of, man, he's hurting. I feel sorry for him. Hopefully he heals someday.
Right.
I get to move on.
I love that. I think it's a very sophisticated interpretation and spot on as well, and totally on brand with Unbound, right?
Right.
I mean, it's literally letting go of these things that are kind of tying you up and keeping you stuck.
Right.
But just it's part of that acknowledgement, and I 100% agree that it's a process.
Mm-hmm.
And I think understanding it's a process then takes some of the burden off of it as well. And people thinking, oh, it has to be this one-time event where I have to go after Thanksgiving dinner, during pie, and say, I forgive you for, for the 18 years of trauma you put me through, or something like that. It's just little by little. I think the point is the individual who's seeking to move on is just in that process of moving on and letting go and recognizing things in other people. And I love that.
Yeah.
I love that.
Cool.
Great counsel. Great counsel.
Oh, good. If another therapist is signing off on it, then
exactly. There's two people now saying this is a good thing.
So either we're both right together or we're wrong together.
A lot of education here at the table. Well, Michael, thank you so much for sharing today. And
of course.
And I love talking shop with you. I love that too.
Yeah, of course.
If people want to learn more about Unbound Brotherhood, where do they go?
Yeah, so LinkedIn's a good place. The only problem is there's about 1,000 Michael Andersons just in the Utah County area alone. So good luck. Look for my face. You can Instagram. It's Unbound. Michael.unbound. Unbound.michael. Just type in Unbound.
Something like that.
Something like
Unbound,
that.
Yeah.
Unbound.michael. Okay. That's it. It's Unbound.michael.
Okay.
Probably should know my own handle. But those are probably the two best places. You can message me, reach out, and get more information.
Excellent.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thanks again for being a guest today.
Yeah, thanks, David.
And thanks to you all for tuning in today. Remember that change starts with you, and together we can increase our mental health momentum.